Are you ready for the best single day of rugby in the entire rugby calendar? Super Saturday is almost upon us and the teams are coming in thick and fast. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel. And the first game on Saturday, the wooden spoon decider between Wales and Italy at the Principality Stadium, is set to be an absolute belter. Arguably the biggest game of the lot. Well, that's maybe a little disrespectful to Scotland, who've got a chance of beating Ireland, of course. But it's certainly starting in proper fashion. And the Wales team, Warren Gatland once again announced this nice and early. He announced the team yesterday. And, well, it's basically reversing the changes that Warren Gatland made for the game against France, with George North and Nick Tompkins coming back into the centre, with Roberts and Watkins back out of the 23-man squad, and Alex Mann into the back row with Will Rowlands onto the bench. So, in hindsight, what was Warren Gatland up to with his changes in midfield? What's the logic? Was he saving Tompkins and North for this game? Was there a physical issue that they couldn't manage back-to-back games? Admittedly, 6-day turnaround, and they were away in France. I can see some logic in that one, particularly with George North in the light of his announcement. More on that in just a second. So maybe that's the case. That would make sense. I thought Watkins and Roberts actually looked pretty decent. And, it wasn't so long ago that centre was one of the big problem areas for Wales. And actually, that's not the case anymore. They do have some problem areas, though. Front row being the main one. Is that the weakest pair of props that Wales have ever selected? I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys involved, because they will give their heart and soul, and they've done brilliantly to earn themselves the opportunity. And I hope they prove me and many other doubters wrong. But the bench in general, the forwards on the bench in general, with the exception of Will Rowlands, looks really, really weak. Now, there are a lot of players not available who will come back in, so that won't be a long-term problem for Wales. But it's an absolutely massive concern for the game this weekend, which matters a lot. It would be devastating for Wales if they finished completely winless and beaten at home by Italy. The front row, so inexperienced. I think, 2 caps between the three of them in Lloyd, Matthias and O'Connor. Real concern, that. Another one, just a conversation. It'd be interesting to see your thoughts down in the comments. In general, of course, tell me what you think. But on this one in particular, is Adam Beard lucky to keep his place in the starting 15? It felt a little bit like David Jenkins was moved to the flank to keep Adam Beard in the side because Will Rowlands was back. But now Will Rowlands is back out of the matchday 15 and on the bench. Interesting one. Is it just Adam Beard's line-out work, or is there something I'm not seeing? Because it looks to me like at the minute, if all being equal, I'd select Will Rowlands ahead of Adam Beard. But, Warren Gatland knows things. And you could argue as well, Josh Adams. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Josh Adams, have been down the years, but it's getting harder and harder to defend the performances you're seeing because they're not at the level you expect Josh Adams' performances to be. And would Mason Grady deserve a start on the wing? Another potential thought there, but experience, maybe that will come to the fore in games like this. So we will see. Kieran Hardy in for Gareth Davis with Davis's impact or lack of from the bench last week. That kind of makes sense. What's happened to the former Gareth Davis? He was absolutely amazing only a few months ago in the Rugby World Cup, but not at that level now. The other thought, just going back to the centres for a second, is just changing. You're up against, and I'll come to Italy in a second, you're up against one of the best pairs of centres in the entire Six Nations, and to go chop and change, and North and Tompkins haven't played together now they haven't played full stop now for 3 weeks? So it's a risk, and you could argue that Watkins and North, they play together all the time at the Ospreys. Could that have been a halfway house decision? Anyway, that's by the by. Tell me what you think. And if you appreciate the channel and the rugby content on it, I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. Give the video a thumbs up to help me spread the word to other rugby fans. And I'd love it if I'd get your subscription on the channel. Can't go any further, without mentioning George North, that man. Now, the word legend gets bandied around a little too often, doesn't it? But it's absolutely deserved and been earned by George North. He is a legend of Welsh rugby. He's absolutely earned that tag. Announcing that Saturday will be his final game in a red jersey. What a stalwart he's been. Still only 31 years of age. You feel there's gas in the tank. And I'll come to the records that he could break in a minute. But let's just look back on his career briefly. 2010, he became Wales' youngest ever try scorer, aged 18. What a specimen he was at that age. He also was then the youngest World Cup try scorer a year later at 19, the youngest player to get to 50 caps for Wales at age 23, to 100 caps age 28, 4 Rugby World Cups, 2 British and Irish Lions tours, has never lost a British and Irish Lions series, and we all remember that moment, absolutely iconic. That might be the one single moment he's remembered most for. But don't forget, in that same game, earlier in the match, was it later in the match? Can't remember. But he sealed the victory with an absolutely awesome try. And just to demonstrate what a great bloke George North was. You know, that's one of the famous moments of his career, scoring a winning try in a Test match for the British and Irish Lions. The stuff dreams are made of. And he regrets and apologises for wagging his finger just a moment before he goes through to score. That's Will Genia trying to tackle him, and he just gives a little wag of the finger to Will Genia, and he said sorry after that, because he's, as well as being an incredible rugby player, a really nice bloke. And what, in terms of specimens, Wales do not produce many players like George North. In fact, humans like George North don't exist. People that can shift as fast as he could shift and were as big as he could. What a pair of quads on him. What a player that will be missed. He is only 3 tries short of Brian O'Driscoll's all-time Six Nations try-scoring record. And at the age of 31, you did wonder whether he might just hang on for a couple more years. He could have become the highest capped Welsh international of all time. I mean, it would probably take a lot out of his body to get there, but possibly. Anyway, maybe a hat-trick for George North this weekend. Anyway, thank you, George, for all the memories, and enjoy your international retirement and your rugby in Provence. Lovely part of the world that he's going to see out his career. What a guy. Over to Italy then. Tell you what, this is a pretty handy side, isn't it? Just such a shame for the spectacle for the Six Nations and for Italy that the little rugby pixie Ange Capowazzo is not available to play. He has got a broken finger. He's been ruled out of the match. So Lorenzo Pani comes in. Now Lorenzo Pani, he's a handy player. He's got a giant boot on him as well. I am slightly disappointed that there's no sign of Gacy for this one. Still not involved. He looks like an absolute baller for Italy. But, I mean, you can't argue with the team they have picked. And the bench, in contrast to Wales, the bench for Italy looks really, really strong. I mean, look at Ross Vincent. How well has he been playing? How good is he? And he's on the bench with Lorenzo Canoni reinstated to the starting lineup for Italy. A brilliant player. And Vincent can feel a bit unlucky about being on the bench. That said, Ross Vincent, with the sort of skill set he's got, brilliant when the game breaks up and is loose. Wales seem to be playing quite a loose style of rugby. When bodies are tired, you can imagine Ross Vincent absolutely tearing it up. And I wonder if that's behind the switch at scrum half as well, with Paige Rello, who's been looking really good for Italy, I think, the last couple of games. He's on the bench. Stephen Varney in the starting lineup. Varney's more of your sort of tactical, territorial type 9. He's quite a good box kicker. Controls things quite well, and with him, Garbisi and Pani, they've got 3 good kickers on the field. I wonder if that's what they're thinking, and then Paige Rello and Vincent to kind of bust things open in the last quarter. Or actually, it could just be as simple as Stephen Varney is of Welsh, he's Welsh, and he's playing in Wales. So a special moment for him, and you wouldn't begrudge the coach thinking, I reckon I might get more out of Stephen Varney in this game than he's maybe ever given in any game. Lots on the line for both teams, and that's a lovely little subplot in the match. Now, Tommaso Menoncello in the mix for player of the tournament, isn't he? And if he guides Italy, plays really well, and Italy win again, he could well be player of the tournament. I mean, did Parise ever get... Parise must have got a player of the tournament at some point. But other than the great Sergio Parise, I can't think of an Italian player who's had the kind of influence on an Italian team like Tommaso Menoncello is right now. And him and Brex is such a brilliant combination. Really, really love it. And yeah, the wingers are pretty handy too. So Italy have got a very, very good team. Is it enough to beat Wales? Well, we're going to find out. Wales have home advantage, but if you were going to combine both teams into one 23-man squad, how would it look? I've had a stab at it here. Tell me what you think about this. Starting with the forwards, where Italy's scrum actually looked okay last week in that victory, but I still would favour Dylan Lewis is a slightly bigger man. Elliot D just would favour him slightly. One lock apiece. Again, if Will Rowlands was in the starting lineup, it might be both Welshmen. David Jenkins, by the way, 21 years of age. Talk about good, promising young players. What a guy. 26 tackles, none missed last week. Unbelievable work rate. He's playing so well. Negri, I mean, look at this. There's actually so much back row talent on show that Michele Lamaro doesn't get into my combined team. That is about as high a compliment as you can pay to Tommy Raffel, because Michele Lamaro was immense last week in Rome, and that's going to be an amazing battle. The two sevens going head to head. Whoever gets out on top in that particular battle, probably on the team that wins the match. Thomas Williams at scrum half, actually been looking really good, and it's generally been a problem area for Italy. Paolo Garbisi at fly half, 10 is a problem issue for Wales. And I wanted to go with George North. That would have been the romantic, sentimental choice, would be to go for George North at 13. But I cannot look past these two Italian centres. One winger apiece, Rio Dyer and Monty Ioanni. And were Ange Capowazzo fit, he would obviously be 15. I've gone for Cam Winnett. Out of the two young fullbacks, Pani and Winnett, I've gone for Winnett. He's looking really good in this tournament. So Italy, clear edge in the back line. Wales, maybe an edge in the starting pack. But look at the bench. Wales have got some issues there. So can the starting Wales pack give enough of a platform to make things count for Wales? There's a lot of positions, to be fair, where it's kind of a toss of a coin, 50-50. So I just see this one going right down to the wire. I think maybe in terms of names on paper, incredibly, Italy have got an edge. But in terms of home advantage and the noise that stadium is going to create, the George North retirement factor, I think Wales are going to win this one narrowly, but I think it's going to be a blockbuster match, and I cannot wait. Bring it on. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. See you on the next one.